Hello, 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 everyone. You're all welcome to our July Meetup. My name is Linda Nsifel, and I am the founder of Women in Research, Monitoring, Evaluation, and Learning, which is a community that seeks to accelerate the careers of women in the research, monitoring, evaluation, and learning sector. So today we have a very interesting topic that we will be diving into shortly. But before we do that, I will pull up our agenda for today so that you can all have a sense of what we're going to go through for our meeting today. So while I'm pulling out the agenda, please do well to introduce yourselves in the chat, mention your name, what you currently do, and where you're joining us from. Okay, I hope everyone can see my screen. Great. Okay, so this is our agenda for today. So we'll be diving into some icebreakers shortly, after which I will introduce our speaker. She'll take us through her presentation. We'll have a time for Q&A, and then we'll have announcements, and then we'll end. All right, so moving on to our icebreaker. Okay, so the first one has to do with you mentioning or listing your favorite leaders, or if you just have one leader that you admire, that you look up to, and then also mention why that person inspires you. Any contributions in the chat? Okay, so we have a few introductions. All right, good to see you all. Great, you're all welcome. It's nice to have you all here. Great, great. Okay, so I'm looking forward to reading out your responses, or if you would like to unmute yourself and share with us. Any takers? Okay. All right, I guess people are still thinking about their responses. So we'll come back to this icebreaker soon. Great. Thanks for all your intros. Great, great, great. Okay, so move on. So the next one, which is an interesting one, you'd have to okay. So you'd have to guess who these leaders are, who these personalities are. You can share your answer in the chat, or you can also unmute yourself. So these are, well, familiar faces, notable people who are leaders in their own rights, in their own domains, from sports to politics to advocacy, conservation, leadership. Any guesses? Any guesses? Let me see in the chat. Okay, so Joy said D is Ngozi. Right. Yes, that's Ngozi. We all know that she's leading the well-trained organization. Yes, she's the director of WTO. Exactly. Thank you so much. Oh, that's nice. Nice that you're her fan. Okay. Any more guesses? Anyone that you know, anyone that's familiar to you? Any guesses? Okay, let me see if I can get some names here. Um, Lucy, is there anyone you know? Judith, Diana, Harriet, Jacqueline. Yeah, Jelly. Okay, so we have, okay, so Harriet said, I know Serena Williams. Okay, yes. So she is at the bottom. So she is G. Okay, okay, no problem. Can see some of you are engaged. Okay, no problem, no problem. Okay, so I'll provide the answers and then we will dive into the next item on the agenda because of time. Okay, Harriet has provided a response. Elon Musk. No, there's no Elon Musk here. Okay, so let me just give the answer. So we have A, that's Malala Yousafzai, and then B is Jane Goodall, C is Jeff Bezos, D, as Joy said, is Ngozi Okonjo Iweala. Then we have bottom from the left, we have John C. Maxwell, and then we have Denzel Washington, Serena Williams, and then we have Emmanuel Macron. All right, thank you all. So I will stop sharing now, and then we'll dive into the meaty part of our session for today. So I'll read the profile of our speaker for today and invite her to come off stage shortly. Okay, so Joy is a digital consultant and people development practitioner with about a decade's experience working with multinational teams, startup organizations on digital transformation, strategy, and project execution. She's a trained telecommunications engineer with most of her work experience in the telecommunications industry, asset management, as well as leadership and technology ecosystem. She has a bachelor's degree in telecommunications engineering from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Ghana. She also has an executive certificate in human resource management from Cornell University in the USA and a postgraduate degree in international human resources in the digital age from Grenoble École de Management in France. She's also a certified Prince 2 project manager and a serious games master. She's also a leadership consultant and trainer with CTL Africa Leadership. She co-founded Abeye Innovation Studios and She Rock Women. Joy believes that every day is an opportunity for self-discovery once we are willing to be curious, learn, and try new things. For fun and leisure, she loves to paint and read. Joy, you're very welcome to the Women in RML community. It's glad to have you here. Yay! So friends, let's welcome Joy as she takes us through our topic for today.
Thank you, Miss Linda. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. I was like, oh, is that my profile?
Yeah.
I'll try to keep it shorter next time.
Oh no,
Yeah.
it's fine.
But it's exciting to be here. Thank you for the kind invitation. I always say it's an honor to share, and I always believe that as I'm learning, I get the opportunity to share. And I hope that we'll be very interactive, we'll share, because the team you are leading or the team you want to lead, it's not the same team I have worked with. So I can only share, from my perspective, and then you can also share from your perspective and how it can apply to yours. So I'd love to have that feedback also from what you are experiencing on your side. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and then share my presentation. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I see we're coming from around the world. So this is an international webinar. And Linda, thanks for putting this together. I see my namesake Joy from South Africa. I see Jackie, Uganda, Malawi. Yes, I see a number of people. I see my friends. I see Judith from Ghana. Some of our She-Rock women are also here. I see Diane as well. And I see Dinah. I see Clara. Yes, it's good to have you all here as we share the space of learning. And I hope that we'll be able to pick some things from here. Okay. All right. Please let me know if you can see my slide in full screen.
Yes, please. All good.
Okay, all right. So I think when we had, Linda and I had the first conversation, we're looking at speaking or sharing on leadership and teams. So I decided to position it in the frame where we look at high-performing teams, because everybody can form a team. Anybody can form a team. But what is the purpose of a team if the team cannot execute or if the team cannot produce results? So I decided to frame it in the lens of high-performing teams. And for those of you who know me on LinkedIn, you might see the word innovation around me a lot. And it's because I think that it's innovation should be part of the fiber of every organization, individual's home. You always have to think of what is the best way to do things, and what is the new way of doing things, what is working, what is not working. That simply puts innovation. So we're looking at how to innovate our leadership styles in order to produce high performing teams. That's the background to the topic. All right, so this is a snapshot of me and a few of the things that Linda shared. And I think that from today's session, I'm going to be sharing my experience basically, because like I said, you cannot speak for another team. You can only build on what you have experienced with some principles that I'll be sharing, and then you can also apply it. So from a bigger picture, I've worked with a multinational team. So this was a team where you have offices in different countries. Vodafone, now Telecel in Ghana, had offices in South Africa, in the UK. So you're working with people all over the world. Then, BCA Leadership is a Pan-African organization. So I worked with leaders, CEOs and coaches from all over Africa. So we have coaches in Malawi, Nigeria, South Africa. So working with a team fully remote all over the continent was also another experience that I'll be drawing from. I also worked with an international team while in France, working with a fully French company. And there were different dynamics to working with the French team. Then also the startup I set up, Abbey Innovation Studio, where She-Rock Women was also birthed. So that was a nonprofit organization focused on sustainable development. And that experience of working with people who were coming to work or working with you from wherever they were without money being the motivation. It had a different dynamic to how people worked. Okay, so and then CTL Africa Leadership, where I am leading a team, trying to bring leadership to as many people as possible. And so we've set up a small shop after many years. The founder working in global corporate across the continent saw that one of the missing links to whether a bank or an organization succeeded or failed was the leadership. And I mean, today, if we're talking about leadership, I'll definitely mention that everything rises and falls on leadership. This is a quote by John C. Maxwell. And this is not just a quote, this is a truth. I mean, if you look at healthcare, if you look at the family system, wherever you look, if something is not going well, you trace it and you trace it back to the leadership. And so we're doing this work to bring personal development, executive coaching, and general training of leadership to individuals and to organizations. So that's what CTL is all about. And also working with a team in that front also presents different dynamics to it. So these are the lenses that I have, and I'm bringing this to the conversation we're having today. Okay, just before we start, I have a quick video that I want to just share with you, and I'll just indulge you to just take a listen, and afterwards I'll just come to you to unmute and just share with me what you realized from the video. Okay, so let's do this.
Go Ike, go Ike, go Ike, don't stop, don't stop, go straight around Ike, don't stop Icon, go on Icon, you're not far from that, go on, go down there, boy, come here, Jesus Christ, Ross, oh God, Ross, come on, that's what, no. Oh my God.
Okay. All right. So that's just a quick video I wanted to share with you. So I'm gonna just take down my slide for a bit and then just go around, and please share with me what you saw and what you realized. Yeah. So just two people, please feel free to raise your hand and I'll give you the floor. Okay. I see Ruth, I see Joy, I see Judith, just anything. I saw some emojis and some reactions, so I know you guys saw something. Okay, let me move to the chat. Probably I get some reactions there. Okay, thank you for raising your hand. Is it Tammy? Please unmute. Yes.
It's Tammy.
Tammy.
So I'm in South
Okay.
Africa.
Yes.
Yeah. I saw something very cute, very interesting. But at the same time, you could say very real as well, the confusion, miscommunication. And so, yeah. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I think the context was very cute.
Okay. Thank you so much. Jacqueline, let me hand the mic to you.
Thank you so much. What I saw is doing the right thing the wrong way. That is what I saw in this video, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much for sharing that very, very powerful video that really sums up the concept of teams working together. Linda, please let me know if you see the slides in full screen.
No, please, not yet.
Okay.
Okay, it's fine now.
Okay. All right. So this is exactly the concept that I'm bringing in the context that Tammy said is we're all going in one direction. The moment somebody goes in another direction, it ceases to be a team, or it ceases to lead us to our end goal. All right. So just to also share these 3 questions, you can feel free to put them in the chat for me, because I think that it's very key that we understand our own context, how we have formed the framework of understanding how teams work. So you can just share, maybe question A is, where are you in the birth order? Are you number 1, number 2, number 3, number 6, or number 10? Just put that in the chat. For me, where did you grow up? You can add that to it. And then what was your earliest memory of teamwork? And how has it shaped what you think about teamwork today? I'm very, very curious to hear, you know, how you have framed your mindset of teamwork. Okay, I see Harriet says she's number 3. Good for you. I'm also number 3. Okay. And your earliest memory of teamwork. Your earliest memory of teamwork. I'd say my leadership journey started very early. My leadership journey started very early. The earliest I can remember, I was in kindergarten. For those of you who know what kindergarten is, that's like your the very beginning of your school days, aside from the crèche or from the nursery. So in the second year of kindergarten, I remember, like, my mind just picks up a memory where I was asked to stand in front of the class and help the teacher to count the dates and, you know, to do all those morning routines. And I mean, I didn't know why they would choose me out of 30 kids to help the teacher in doing this. Then as I went to grade 1, grade 2, I was asked to, I don't know, those of you who know class prefectship or class leader for our part of the world in Ghana, it's something that is carried from a very young age. So I was literally a leader of my peers as at age 6. That is very ridiculous because I have no idea what I was doing. But then that was the journey for me. And it was a very democratic process in school where your classmates would have to choose who to be the leader. So they'll put a list of names on the board, just like we do in the electoral process. And then your classmates will have to choose who is going to be the leader. And I can tell you that from grade 1 all the way to junior high school, which is about 12 years, I was chosen by my colleagues to be their leader, except for 2 years. So that was class 4 and I think class 7, which was high school year 1, junior high school year 1. I said no. I was now a shy girl. My adolescent hormones were kicking in. I said, no, I don't want to be the class leader again. Yeah. So on several occasions, my friends would say, hey, go ahead and be the class leader. But I don't know. I don't think I was class monitor. Exactly. I don't think I was that kind of a person who would stand there, shout on top of my voice. But there was a reason. And one of the reasons I got to understand, between class 3 and class 4, they decided not to vote me as the leader anymore because they had had enough of me for like 3-4 years. So they voted someone else as the class leader. And I remember he was a total bully. So class 5, when they were asked to choose again, they said, oh, please, can we have Joy as the class monitor again? I don't know whether I was giving them freebies. I really don't know why they were choosing me, but that's my earliest recollection of my leadership. And I think it has shaped me in terms of how people trust you, the responsibility of a leader. Okay. All right. I see. Oh, Ruth is number 5 and you grew up in Kampala. And Ruth's earliest memory of teamwork was right from her siblings. Yes. So I think Linda, I don't know if that's you, Women in Ramel says number 1. As a firstborn, I was tasked to keep an eye on my younger siblings. Yes, that's where our team building framework started. Okay, and I see Tammy also said I was delegated by the teacher, and the role was to write write down the noisemakers. Exactly. Yes. So similarly, my framework also started from school and also started from the home, because as the third child in the family, there was always a big sister, don't put this here. And sometimes we're given team tasks, fold the clothes, clean the house, and you had to find a way of working together with your siblings to achieve that. So we've all been framed with that mindset of teamwork, and you can never do it alone. And one statement that I like from John C. Maxwell, and I don't know if you can write it down or keep it somewhere. And he shares this in his 17 laws of leadership, and law number 1, which says, 1 is too small a number to achieve significance. And I'll just repeat it again. 1 is too small a number to achieve significance. So if you think that you want to go alone, think about the Olympians. There's no Olympian that gets there alone. You need your coach, you need your team, you need your family, you need your groomers, you need the press, you need everybody. You need a village to make you a world champion. So 1 is too small a number. So when you start to think of putting a team together and you feel like, oh, I can do this alone, I can run this race alone, remember that you can only go that far. Okay. All right. So I'll just share a little bit about why we fail to work together. And because if 1 is too small a number to achieve greatness, why do we fail to work together? Definitely ego comes in. People don't want to admit they are wrong and they can do everything by themselves. Sometimes insecurity, because you feel threatened by others. There are people who also feel vulnerable. When people begin to see what the reality of their space is, they feel vulnerable. So people shut people out for insecurity reasons. And sometimes naivety. Some individuals underestimate the difficulty in achieving big things. Most of the time, I have to catch myself in the moments to say, hey, you have to find a team, delegate somebody to do this. I mean, you saw co-founding this, co-founding that. People ask me, how are you doing all these things? And I say, I find people, I get the support that I need. Temperament. And for some people, it's not so natural for them to get people into their space and work together. People say, I like working alone, but you can only go that far. So these are some of the reasons why it's difficult for people to work together. But in hindsight, you have to think about what you're going to get in the end. Let's take this tiny insect called the ant and just look at this video shortly.
It was astonishing to see. I've never seen anything like it. I got a selfie with them. Now, I knew that ants could carry several times their own weight, but I didn't know they could do it while climbing a wall.
Okay, sorry if you found that a bit strange and weird seeing all these, but I mean, the ants is so tiny, but when they are an army, there's so many things they can pull together, so it just goes to re-emphasize the importance of teamwork. All right. This is a word and this is a concept which I know has originated from South Africa as well. We say the word Ubuntu. And Nelson Mandela shares something. He says in Africa, this concept of Ubuntu is profound because he says we can only, or we are human only through the humanity of others. We can only do as much as we are working with. So the concept of Ubuntu says, I am because we are, and we are because I am. If I don't put my best foot forward, it affects the entire strength of the team. If you don't put your best foot forward, it affects the entire structure of the team. So in every team that you're forming as researchers, as monitoring and evaluation experts, you're going to have to depend on people, and your success is because of someone else's success. You can be an island. So I love this concept so much, because it makes you realize that no matter who is involved in your team, they are an important element of it. And for you to succeed, you must depend on others. Okay, so just keep this at the back of your mind. It reinforces the foundational principle of teamwork. Now, there's a big word, or a big, these 2-3 words together, high performance teams or high performing teams. It's defined by your output. What you think your output is defined, that's the standard. But in simple terms, a high performance team outperforms similar teams. So like I said in the beginning, we can have a team, but we will call a team high performing if they outperform similar teams. So we have researchers, yes. I mean, I'm technically good. This is what I do, that's what I do. You assemble a team together, they're technically good. But how does one team outperform the other? We talk about Microsoft, we talk about Apple. Why is it that during the pandemic, when people were losing a lot of money, people's revenue sources were being cut short, companies were collapsing, you had another company that entered the $1 trillion status during a pandemic? You talk about General Electric, companies that have become, super companies, that their net worth is equal to the size of Africa put together. 3 companies in the US, you put them together and they outperform the network or the GDPs of Africa put together. It tells you that something is a defining factor. These people are performing at rates comparatively higher than a similar set of developers, HR managers, researchers, data analysts put together. Why can't we have the same outputs? Okay, so that's what we are talking about. How can we innovate in the style of our leadership to produce a team that can outperform? Okay, and this is where Africa needs to get to. This is where Ghana needs to get to. South Africa needs to get to. In your teams, you need to be able to put together teams that are working on projects that outperform other teams. And how can you do that? Okay, so this is the concept of high performing teams. We can talk about, if you Google what is a high performing team, you see a lot of attributes for a high performing team. You see things like detailed job description, you see clear communication, you see high engagement levels, you would see structures, you see strong leadership, you would see trust. There are so many components that go into building a high performance team. Yes. And I mean, one of the things that I would just summarize would be these 3 circles that I've put there: me, the culture, and we. It's one of the biggest defining factors in any organization. So we can talk about everything else, the systems, the processes, but culture is the way of doing things. So if the way we do things doesn't produce a great output, then everything else we've put in place, the technology, the nice buildings, the aesthetics, they don't matter. People, you go to companies and the culture is written on the wall: speed, simplicity, customer obsession, but are the people living it? Okay, so high performance team, there must be a marriage between the me and the we. So me refers to my strengths, what I'm bringing to the table, the talents, the competencies, the mindsets to collaborate. And then the we is having that strong, talented individual that bring their best to the team, a strong team mindset. So they know I can rely on this pillar, I can rely on that pillar. It's no longer about individual strengths. And there's so many research to prove that when there's teamwork, when there's trust, even there's a simple game we usually play if we're doing this presentation in person. There's a game we play. It's called the hanging bodies. I don't know how many of you have experienced it before, but people can sit in a circle and literally they sit and they lay on the laps of the other person in a circle. And we are able to take the chairs off, and the team is able to suspend without chairs. So that's what we call the hanging body activity. And people initially, when we start to do that exercise, they get like, oh, no, don't take the chair. Like people start to really get scared that once we take the chair on which they sit, they will fall. But the equilibrium they establish, for those who do physics, the equilibrium they establish when they lay their heads on each other creates equal forces around the table. And so without the chairs, they can still suspend for as long as they want to. So that's what the culture is. It has to be a culture of trust. It has to be the environment that fosters the high growth. So if you're a team lead, if you're a leader, you have to start to think, what environment am I creating for my people? What kind is that environment nurturing? Is that environment bringing the best out of the individuals? Is that environment giving an exponential growth to the combined strength? Because the combined strength is actually more powerful. It's not a multiplier of 2. It's not a linear growth. It's an exponential growth when you work together. Okay, so that's the questions that we should be asking ourselves as leaders. What kind of environment are we creating to foster the teamwork? Okay. I'm just going to share with you a few of my experiences working with a number of different types of teams. Okay, so I'll start with the multinational teams. So with the multinational teams, we had a system where we worked in different countries. The OPCO or the local company is in Ghana, and you have companies in the UK, and you had to collaborate on different projects. Sometimes you have the group head office say, we're going to implement a digital transformation. This is a very real example. So the group in UK says, we're going to implement digital transformation across all our OPCOs. We want to become more from a telecom company to a technology company. So things like paperless office, things like collaboration tools, these were some of the aims. And so they put together working groups. We have to sit on calls with different people, cascade the information. Yes, because the person who started the information is in the UK, say Paddington office. They have to cascade the information to their teams. Their teams will cascade the information to the local CEOs. Then the local CEOs will now cascade the information to their ESCO. And then the ESCO will now come to our teams and say, hey guys, this is what we are trying to do. Let's all get on board. And we are like, okay, let's all get on board. So it gave us an opportunity to learn from different markets. It gave us an opportunity to interact with different cultures, which is one of the elements of a high-performing team, which is diversity. So diversity of thoughts, diversity of skill, nationality, all of that brings together to enrich the team. So one of the challenges with the multinational teams that I personally face in this project, for example, is that the agenda was already set. It was brought down to localize it. And we always say, what is the meaning of localizing something that at the end of the quarter, we have to report the numbers you have set? Do you get it? So when you work out multinational teams, sometimes the process of getting the information down, the clear communication lines, they get missing, they get blurry. So they get to you, the final destination, and you feel like, well, these guys have already agreed, but this thing is not going to work. Green, whatever. They said we should change all our air conditions to green energy. And we just said, even the Ghana government has not even gone green. How do we go green on a national level? So these are things that probably were big in the UK and they were cascaded down. So those were some of the challenges with the multinational team, that we had opportunities to visit different opcos, to hear perspectives from different places, which enriched the teams. And now to talk about the Pan-African teams, like I mentioned, we had coaches, we had teammates in Nigeria, in South Africa, in Malawi, in Zambia, in a number of them. So all over Morocco. And you had to sit on team Zoom calls with them. You had to be in WhatsApp groups with them. Biggest challenges had been our timing, because we're on different time zones, especially with our colleagues in East Africa. You have 3 hours ahead of your GMT time. And when you have some meetings, you have to be, wake up extremely early, so time zones sometimes can become a factor. And that's where communication comes in. That's where a collaborative platform comes in, where we can agree on the goals, so that, hey, you can work at whatever time you want to work and still achieve the goal. So an element of communication and using technology to facilitate those teamwork also goes a long way to help. So the biggest challenges, I mentioned time, and I mean, language is not so much of a barrier, because fundamentally we all spoke English. So it wasn't so much of a barrier, but mindset and perspectives are very different. People's lenses of teamwork is different. Sometimes a team agrees that we're going to have maybe this structure. We're going to have a webinar. We need you to find the speaker. We need you to do this. We need you to do that. Then eventually, you would see that somebody's time to deliver the speaker, they go like, oh, but this person is support. So my job is just to really smile around it. And we had big challenges with that. But that's her socialization of what it means to have, let's say, an executive admin in your team, even though the task has been clearly assigned. So you have to understand those dynamics. When we work with Francophones as well, if a Francophone person says this, the direct translation might not mean what they are actually saying. So sometimes things get lost in translation. People can get tipped off easily by not pronouncing their names together. So you must understand the context, especially dealing with multinational and Pan-African teams. So those were some of my experiences working in such teams. And the organization I work for, BCA Leadership, I mentioned it earlier, today is the largest coaching organization in Africa. They have the largest number of coaches in one organization. So it tells you they're doing something well. And we hope that all these practices that we learned will also be cascaded. The other one was working with an international team. Okay, and this is where we're primarily Africans, but I had the opportunity to work with a French-only organization, and my teammates were from different parts of the world, not African, and you had to deliver a project within 6 months. But the biggest barrier was language. You could communicate all you want, you come back and it's just different. The output is just different. So you have to always think about maybe getting somebody on the team that has similar traits, like getting somebody who was a traditional French or a native French-speaking person to always do the communication. We had a big challenge because midway through the project, the host company said, well, we like what you're doing, but it doesn't really meet our needs, even though the needs were coming directly from them. So as you're going along, there needs to be reclarifications, there needs to be accountability, and all of these things with international teams. So if you're building a team and you don't share nationality with them, you don't even share continental nationality with them, let me put it that way. I don't know what word that is, but you don't share much similarities. Sometimes all we can lean on is our humanness, So I remember in the teams, we always spent a lot of time hanging out. Even when we have team meetings, we'll do a lot of icebreakers because it's important that the team vibes. It's important that we find the missing link or the connection. When people are happy, they don't think about time, they don't think about issues. So we spend a lot of time, you know, when you're in France, they'll say, oh, let's go out and have some drinks, or let's go out and get this ice cream and all of that. And you had to avail yourself to do all of that in order to build a team synergy. So that was one of the biggest lessons from the team. I remember when we were doing the final presentation on the project, we had to buy the host, the person we're dealing with, their HR manager, a bouquet of flowers. When she came to the south part of France, we met her with flowers. She just got so excited and amazed and happy that any trouble she had with communication just disappeared. You know, so sometimes you have to lean in more into just the humanness and not necessarily the technical part of things. Then I think last two, both of them, I'll touch on them together. So I also worked with a group of a nonprofit, which, you know, was work with volunteers. And I know when it comes to research and field work, sometimes you lean in also on volunteers, you know, and these are people who are coming in not for the money. So how do you keep a team like that performing at their maximum or delivering the best output they can? One of the big things I established in setting up Abe Innovation Studio and working with over 40 volunteers at a particular time for 6 months. Can you imagine? And it's not in person. We are fully remote. How do you work with 40 volunteers from over 12 countries, fully remote at one time? I think I'll be in France somewhere, somebody will be in California somewhere. So when I'm going to bed, she's now awake. How do we work that out? The biggest thing that helped us to be successful in that team was, one would be the shared values, because everybody who came into the organization said, when I saw the ad or the application for volunteers, I liked when you talked about sustainability. I liked when you talked about Africa being able to solve our own problems. So people joined the team because of the values you have put there. And so one of the biggest things was that shared value that we had. So people were able to bring their best foot forward once they knew the organization had this in mind. So for volunteers, they don't wake up in the morning saying that I'm going to work for 8 hours and I get paid a dollar amount at the end of the day, but they believe that as I work, I contribute to something. So we had one of the biggest successes for me as well was that we powered everything we did with strong foundations, which were, you know, we had our employee life cycle. This was a very small company, literally 2 years old, 3 years old. We had our job descriptions. If you were going to apply, you had a job description. If you come on the platform, we have a handbook that talked about your entire 6-month process. We had a buddy system. We created opportunities for people to connect with other people. And today, for what Linda is doing with this women platform is huge, because today people don't want to box themselves just with their fellow countrymen. They want to see what's happening outside. So you come on a platform, you come to an organization where I can connect to someone from Malawi. At least I'll know what food to buy when I travel to Malawi. When I want to go to South Africa, I know who to call when I get there. So the world has grown so connected that organizations that have that global outlook are thriving even better. You know, so we sat down, designed all the policies, the systems, and we were big on technology. So we had platforms that brought everybody together to be able to share what you're going, share what's happening in your day. We had project management platforms that were real-time collaborative. So it's your Asana or your Trello or Microsoft. We used to use Microsoft Planner. So we have a project, we attach or assign whoever needs to be there, and that's where people could work. So there's no ambiguity anywhere. this is the project. This is the day we're going to brainstorm. These are the documents. And anybody who would jump on the team later in the process gets up to speed immediately, because in the moment they have access to the collaborative platform, they have historical documents, they have everything, you know, and we have a fine way of sharing fun virtually, you know. So for me, those were the two things that saw a very huge success in the volunteer program. People that graduated from the program went ahead for their master's program, got new jobs, and they would circle back to say, please, can I get a recommendation? So for me, working with a team that could build a super app in 3-4 months, and these are people working from anywhere in the world. We came together to build a super app for entrepreneurs, the Abe app, which is on Google Play Store. Not many of these people had experiences building an app, but then that collaboration, the connectedness, the ability to be in touch with their person. So I don't just ask you how you are, I ask you how you are at home, what's happening in your space. I'm connected to you. So you know that you don't wake up every morning and it's all about the money, it's all about the results. So for me, those are some of the things that saw a big success of that team in terms of the output that we did. And for startup teams, I won't overemphasize the power of accountability. Very early when we started a small company, I told myself that, okay, we have a learning lab, we have a training session. Even if it was just myself, my co-founder, we would organize the session, we will be on the call, you will share slides, and we would behave as though we're having a session with 100 people. And that is a mindset that I had from the beginning. I never treat something small as the size I see it. I see it as what the vision is for the team. So in every team that you're building, always have the big picture. If I had enough money to fund the team, what would the team look like? If I had the best competencies in the team, what would the team look like? These are some of the mindsets for me that shaped our teams from the very beginning. So 2 years down the line, you're having partnerships from Microsoft, IBM, HubSpot, and the rest. And you're asking yourself, what exactly is it that these guys are seeing that are giving you these kind of technology grants for your business? It tells you that they're seeing something really solid. When they come into your platforms, they see, the teams you're working with and the output that you're generating. So for me, for startup teams, if you're building startup teams, always go professional. Think about your startup as, this is a multinational. This is a business which is on the stock market. How would I approach my day? How will I address my employees? Even if it's one executive assistant, your question is, our meeting should be formal, should be professional. Formal, I don't mean suit and tie, but we must formalize our interactions. We must put things in the right perspective. And you realize that when people start coming and you start building on those teams, now the foundation is solid. I'm not going to tell employee A that when you want to take a leave, send an email or book it in the system. By the time they came from day one, that system was in place, and you strive to find people with competence. I just realized that people with master's degrees wanted to volunteer. And I was like, oh, okay, this is very interesting, because usually you're thinking people who may not have a job are the ones that are going to volunteer. People had jobs, yet they still wanted to volunteer or join your startup organization. So these 3 teams, or these 5 teams that I've had experience of working with in one way or the other is so key these are some of the elements, and strong leadership is always the icing on top of the cake. All right, I've spoken quite a bit. I still have just 2 slides to go, but then please feel free, put the things that you're picking up in the comments. I'd love to see that as we go along. So just 2 slides more. And I just want to introduce you to, for those of you who may know John C. Maxwell, as Linda shared in her icebreaker. I mean, when we talk about leadership and all of that, he's the #1 expert in the world because he's written more books than anyone else. And most of his material are used in business schools across the world. Written more books. I think he's on probably his 100th book on leadership. Every year he just releases a book. So he put this framework together. I know it may be a bit hard to see. Just bear with me on that. But the 17 laws of teamwork, I'm not going to go into the details, but I just want to just walk you through what the laws are and the definitions on them. Okay, so very, very simple and very quickly, the law #1 is the law of significance. It says, like I quoted in the beginning, 1 is too small a number to achieve greatness. The second law is the law of communication. It says interaction fuels action. I mean, most of these laws are quite self-explanatory, but I want you to think about the power of it. These are the laws that govern a team when we say the laws of teamwork. So law #2 is the law of communication. It says interaction fuels action. When people are clear about their roles, when people are not confused about their job description, they will not make unnecessary mistakes, or because they are confused, they don't even take action. Then when you are winning, nothing hurts. That's the law of high morale. So it's been grouped into essential elements and the team value, team definition, team mechanics, and team production. Then the law of dividends, it says investing in the team compounds over time. So what you're doing now, investing in yourself as a leader first, and then into others, will compound over time. It's not like the ATM where some investment that you just start and then you get an instant reward. Sometimes it pays to invest in your team. Take them for team building activities, get them to talk, get them to interact and build the team spirit. If a team feels part, sometimes they come to work not because of the work. They come to work because of the people, and that's where you want to get to. And the team definition, the law of the bench, it says great teams have great depths. Great teams have great depths. They learn together. They're able to build thoughts together. And great teams, the law of identity says shared values define the team. When you go to the Olympics and it's a football team or it's a swimming team, they wear the same costume, they wear the same color. Right now, their individuality doesn't matter, but the identity they share as a team. So sometimes, you print T-shirts, you print paraphernalia, that makes your team feel together. That's what we talk about, the team identity. And I think it also talks about the shared values that everybody know that this company, this is how they work together. The law of the edge says the difference between two equally talented teams is leadership. As we have shared. When it comes to the team mechanics, talk about the law of the niche. All players have a place where they add the most value. And I mean, for special So in a team, you have to understand that even though we have one identity, everybody adds a unique value. So even though you address the team as one, be careful to be able to acknowledge individual traits and allow people to shine where they operate the most. The law of the compass says vision gives team members direction and confidence. Without vision, trust me, the people perish, the people scatter. Today, somebody is trying to do his own thing somewhere. Tomorrow, somebody's trying to do his own thing somewhere. So as a leader, define the vision, have the vision shared together, which will provide direction. The law of the bad apple, it says rotten attitudes ruin a team. In Africa, in Ghana, there's an Akan saying that a bad nut spoils the whole soup. That's the literal translation. A bad nut can spoil biggest challenge with the big corporates, because the process of firing or moving was a long process. And I would see people who are very toxic destroying the team. And my question is, why are these people still keeping this person here? Because sometimes you need to call it as it is and move the bad apples. It's not a bad thing. It's part of the process of building high-performing teams. The law of the scoreboard, the team can make adjustments when they know where they stand. If you have a team and you are not measuring your score, you don't know where you are going, you don't know what you have achieved in a week, how can you make adjustments? You have the law of the big picture. The goal is more important than the role. So my role is the data analyst. The goal is for us to get the right research to understand maybe women on career breaks in Africa. So if anybody's interested in doing that research for me, I'll be glad. That's for She-Rock. And you are more interested in your role. Like, okay, this is my role. But the goal is more important. So sometimes that's where humility comes in. That's where, shared vision comes in and say, hey, I'm ready to, lend a helping hand to the person in charge of monitoring so that we can get the goal achieved. But you go to certain teams who are working in silos and all they think about is my job, my role, and mine everything. So in a team that works and succeeds together, the law of the big picture is important. The law of Mount Everest. As the challenge escalates, the need for teamwork elevates. So it's not the time where the crunch situation that you start kicking people aside. Oh, you didn't even help. All of you get off the team. It is when the challenge and the crisis actually happens. That's where you need to bring people together. That's when the need for teamwork, for people to think somebody will catch something you didn't catch in every situation. Okay, then the law of the chain, the strength of the team is impacted by its weakest link. Most of the time, we cut the weak links out. We say, oh, the whole team, somebody is so slow. It takes her 5 days to do what everyone else takes 2 days to do. And we just feel like, well, she's too slow. I mean, don't even give her work. But where the link or where the chain breaks is at the weakest link. So as team leads, as leaders, we have to look at how can we reinforce the weak link? How can we all rally around to build the weakest link? Let's take the person out. Let's have a chat. Let's find out what is their peculiar situation and not huddle around and gossip about the person who is pulling the team backwards. Okay, the law of the catalyst. Winning teams have players who make things happen. There are people in the team you need so critical. These are the make things happen people. There's a funny joke or a saying that says, there are people who make things happen. There are people who look at people making things happen. And then there are the others who say, wow, what the hell just happened? Because they are never in the action. They can talk, but nothing happens. So in a team, you need to be able to build people that execute. When we say we need things to happen, they are the ones you call. And the law of accountability. It may not be, and it's not an English word, but then just to help you understand the description. Teammates must be able to count on each other when it counts, when it matters the most. I need to know that you've got me. I need to know that you're going to be there. Not those teammates when everything is going on and we know that, oh, this person was supposed to handle this part of the project, and you turn and you realize that they failed you. It's the biggest turn-off in any team. So whatever role you play as the leader, as whoever types who sets the Zoom link, if the person who says the Zoom link doesn't do a good job, we'll all be getting into the meeting and we'll be falling off and having issues with our links. So the team must be able to count on each other. Then the last one is the law of the price tag. The team fails to reach its potential when it fails to pay the price. Nothing more, nothing less. You need to pay the price for a high-performing team. Sometimes the kind of sacrifices these CEOs we see and we hail, they make so that they can have a well-functioning team. Sometimes I have to sit, before even people started joining the organization, you have to sit for long hours, work on things, work on the things that when people come in, they feel comfortable to work on. So there's a price to pay. And if you don't pay that price, you end up with a bunch of people you call a team that deliver nothing. And that's always what you have to look at. 1 year, we've invested money, we're doing what have we achieved? Sometimes there's some price that needs to be paid. Okay. So that's basically the law. I'm very sure my time has run out. Linda, I don't think I checked on how many minutes I had. So please let me know if I have like a minute or two so that I can just wrap up.
Sure, please go ahead.
Okay, all right. So this is just in your face, all 5 tips here for you. I mentioned it in my conversation. So build the framework and the foundation. If you are the leader, before you start hiring, before you start bringing people in, build your foundation. Number 2, live the culture of the shared values. What are we sharing together? And make sure you lead by example. I mean, I'm very sure a lot of the people that came to my organization and were given their all, I just went like, why is this guy so passionate about stuff? There was one gentleman in December, Christmas, we had closed for the Christmas, 15 December. I was home just dealing with my stress from the tiresome year. And he calls me and says, oh, there's this pitch that's happening on 29th of December. And I've applied, I applied for the company. I've told them what product, and I'm going to the pitch on 29th. He actually went for the first pitch without telling me. That he told me, and I was like, who is this? Like, who is this? Who does that? Then on 29th, when we are all preparing for the Christmas, the New Year, he went to represent the company in a pitch competition where Fred Swanica was there. A lot of the Hollywood stars were there. For me, it was physically impossible for me to be there. But this gentleman took the initiative. And my question was like, why would he do this? So you have to lead by example, because for me, I always put myself out there for my team. I would do whatever it takes to make sure my team is comfortable. So if you want a high-performing team, let them see how hard and how much the price you're willing to pay. I've talked about technology. And if you also want to foster teamwork, make sure you reward teamwork. Make sure you reward people that bring people together. When you see those people who are always causing dissension and splitting the teams, sit them down and talk to them. Let them know that the little conversations you are having in the small pockets, it can ruin the entire team. It's one of my pet peeves. I hate to see that. So when people bring people together, reward their actions so that others can take cue from that. Okay, all right. So I think that as a leader, the destiny of the team is in your hands. I've shared a lot, and I just hope that you found something useful. And please, before you go, they always say learning is in the reflection. So I'd love for you to put in the chat before you go what actions you're going to take today. In building and fostering your teams, please feel free to share that. And just quickly before I go off, so if you want to keep the connection with us, these are some of the things that we're doing at CTL, Africa Leadership. We have a leadership conference coming up in October. Once you follow us, you'd see all this information, but I just thought I'll put it out there. And Growth Journey is for anybody who wants to begin a personal leadership journey. You want to grow as a person. We take you on a 10-week program, 2 hours virtual every week. We sit together with a leadership coach, an executive coach, and then we go through with a small team of 10 or 15. So the next cohort, we're building the numbers for the next cohort. And it's a very powerful. Maybe Linda, next time I'll invite Sam, who is the founder of CTL, to come and share on personal growth and personal development, just the introduction. And every Saturday on YouTube and Facebook, we're live. We talk about all things leadership, not research, not monitoring, not evaluation, all things leadership. So you can follow us on the leadership platform also for more. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you learned something useful. I'll be looking forward to your comments in the chat. Thank you.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you so much, Joy. That was really solid. Thank you so much. So much information, so much to draw from your experiences. I believe, friends, you've learned a lot as well. And as Joy said, please share your application. What are you going to do with all the information that you've picked up from her presentation? How are you going to apply it? How are you going to enrich your teams? What are you going to do differently? Please do well and share in the chat with us. Okay, at this juncture, I would like to take any questions. Joy, I hope we can take a few questions if there are any. Okay. Okay. Okay, so far people are saying thank you. Okay, so we have Harriet saying thank you. Joy says thank you. Okay, Harriet wants to know if it's possible to get the slides.
It's possible.
Okay.
It's possible. I just PDF it and then share it with you.
Okay, sure. All right. Okay, Jacqueline also claps her hands in appreciation. Clara says thank you so much. Okay, do we have any questions? Does anyone want to ask Joy a question? Please feel free to unmute, or you can also type your question in the chat. Okay, we have a question from Diana. Diana, please.
Okay. Thank you very much, Joy. And thank you. Please, your name again?
Linda.
Linda. Sorry. I dropped off when you were talking, but from the beginning you spoke so much about the fact that one is not enough to be a number. In other words,
greatness. Yeah.
you're alone, you cannot really achieve much, which is true. My question is that, most leaders, especially this one-man businesses, so to say, when you are in their team, they feel very insecure. And so sometimes when you try to suggest or try to, it's like you keep having ideas about what should be done every now and then, and you try to suggest, it's like you're trying to overtake them, and it is not so comfortable with so many leaders. So how do we go about with that?
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question. And it's not easy, especially when somebody is the vision bearer. They feel like they know exactly what they are brewing. So I mean, don't ever think it's easy on them to be very open. It takes people who have mastered the maturity and openness to learn. So one of the things that I've entered into a space like CTL, there's a founder, he has a vision, and I always make sure that every quarterly meeting, I ask him to reshare the vision. I ask him to reshare the vision, because the more the team is hearing the vision, the more we are aligning. And it is in that process of the founder resharing the vision that you say, well, could you maybe explain why ABC is part of the vision? Why you seeing things? Because maybe you crafted the vision 8 years ago, and today maybe it may not be as relevant to you as it was to him. Then that's an opportunity for you to suggest and share ideas based on facts. I find that people listen to people, one, based on competence. That's number one. Usually, if you want to take an advice and I say, hello, my name is Dr. Joy. I'm a medical doctor. And I say, okay, eat some XYZ. You won't even think twice. So sometimes you also need to prove your competence and build that trust where you know that if it's coming from Joy, it's coming from a good place. And sometimes you also need to just take time. take time for that thought to sit, to seep in, for him sometimes to make the errors and come back. And you say, I actually think this, your idea would work. You know, so sometimes it just has to take a bit of time. I hope that helps, Diana.
I hope so too. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Okay, so we have a question from Jacqueline.
Yes.
Her question is, how do you handle a slow teammate who makes you feel dragged?
Yes. Tell me about low teammates. Yes, I'm also like on the go. Like I really don't have time to, you know, just sit around. But I think one of my biggest strengths, I didn't think I could have the patience to teach people, but it's one of the things that I think has served me well as a leader, is if you want people to walk a certain walk, you need to let them see where you are, let them have your perspective. And also sometimes people need to be shown how. So most of the people who have worked with me know that I will sit for an hour or 2 hours and just walk you through HubSpot, how to sign in, walk you through Zoom, how to do this, how to find record. I will take my sweet time because I know from then onwards, when I say I need something on HubSpot and you tell me you can't set your password, then you're going to get into trouble. But I take time, sometimes 2 hours, to walk somebody through it. And I find that the moment I do that, they get it and now they can handle it. So sometimes people can be slow because one, they probably don't know how to. So they're always taking their sweet time to figure it out. They don't want to make a mistake. That could be one. Another part could be the person doesn't want to make mistakes. These perfectionists who would go over a document 10 times. For me, I don't have attention to detail in terms of dots and T's. Once I'm done, I'm done. Those who have the eyes review it. So maybe theirs is that painstaking time to review. So you also need to let them know that, hey, there is room to make mistakes. Because a team that knows that this is a learning environment, if it comes and there's no T, I'm not going to like throw your report in the trash. Even though for researchers and those who deal with numbers, it's so important to be accurate and you need to take your time to get the accuracy right. But then also have the courage to talk to the person that, hey, sometimes I really feel dragged. Is there anything I can help you with? Yeah, an honest conversation would also do. Yes, Jacqueline, I hope this helps.
Okay, great. So Ruth has shared her application. So she said my take home is having the big picture right from the start. Do it the way you would when you have grown, even when you are just starting up.
I
Nice,
love that.
thanks. Yeah.
Thank you for
Nicely put.
sharing.
Yeah.
Yes. If you would want to share your takeaway by unmuting, since our time is up, please feel free to just do that quickly. Yeah. I've not heard from a few people though, but I hope you're there. Okay, Linda, over to you then.
All right. Thank you so much, Joy. It's been a pleasure having you. But before we sign off, I will, with your permission, share your links. So your LinkedIn links to your personal profile, and then CTL, and then your initiatives or your organizations as well. So yes, so friends, please do well to link up with Joy. You can see that she's very passionate about leadership and high performance teams. So please, after here, don't hold back. If you still have any questions, you can reach out to her personally. Okay, Diana, do you have a question? I saw your hand.
Please,
Okay.
I don't have a question.
Okay, all right, okay. Okay, so please take note of the links. I'm sharing in the chat now. So there's Lucy, do you want to ask a question?
No, no, I don't have a question.
Okay. Or do you want to share an experience? Are you currently leading a team?
Yes, I am. Like we're doing a project in one of the government organizations, and our focus in that team, we're focusing on top management. We forgot about the junior staff. So now the project became top staff project. The juniors avoided the project. So what I learned from there is that we should be inclusive. We should put people from the bottom to the top.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, and then I'll also share links to the Women in RML YouTube page, so you can check what we've done during our past meetups. And then I would also like us to provide feedback on how today's session went. If you have any suggestions or you'd like us to treat a specific topic or something that you would like to get more knowledge on, please feel free to share. Or if you want to volunteer yourself to be a speaker at one of our meetups, please do well to reach out as well. And yeah, let's keep our conversations going. Let's connect, let's network as well. So sharing the link to our Women in RML LinkedIn page, and then also our Twitter page. So please do well to follow us for any updates on our subsequent meetups. And Joy, I forgot to add the link to your app. So I'll also share that so people can explore and yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Diana's asking for your contact.
It's you, Linda.
Me. Oh, okay. My direct contact. Okay. I can share. Let me. So you can send me an email. Okay. All right. So we can end our session today. Please let's appreciate our speaker once again. You can give a virtual clap or send your hearty emojis. Thank you so much, Joy, for your time. This will not be the last time we'll invite you. Hopefully we'll invite you at another time. The best wishes with the great work that you're doing at CTL, BA Studios, and yeah, She Rock Women. Wishing you the very best.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for joining and enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.
Thank you too. Thank you, Joy.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.